The price of vaccines at private hospitals fixed at 250 rupees a dose for those above 60 and those above 45 with comorbidities. Vaccinations at government facilities will be free of cost. Ahead of crucial assembly elections, the Congress's dissenters group shares a stage in Jammu, says a weakened Congress needs to be strengthened. Loyalist Abhishek Manu Singhvi says the party's interests would have been better served by focusing on states going to the polls. Fuel prices hit a record high in Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai. Premium petrol hits 100 rupees per litre. Fuel rates across metros up by at least 4 rupees a litre in February. Householders say they're unable to balance budgets. A day after it announced dates for the Bengal Assembly election to be spread over 8 phases, the Election Commission replaces the top cop in charge of law and order in the state. And a day after getting bail, after 45 days in jail, 23-year-old labour activist Nodeep Kaur shows up at the Singhu border to support farmers protesting against the centre's agricultural laws. There, she's here to stay. It is now official. The union government has fixed the price of the vaccines to be administered at private hospitals at 250 rupees for a dose for those above 60 years of age and for those above 45 with comorbidities starting the 1st of March. Vaccines administered at government hospitals will be free of cost. Starting Monday, India's COVID vaccination drive will open up for those over 60 and those over 45 with comorbidities at both government and private hospitals. And in a major policy move, the centre has scaled up the participation of the private sector.
The government has clarified that the capping will be 250 rupees so that everyone who has to get a COVID vaccine or who rather is eligible to get a COVID vaccine can either go to a government facility where they will get it for free of cost, or they can opt for a private hospital where they will get it for around 250 rupees. That is the maximum, and the hospital cannot go beyond that. So as far as the number of hospitals are concerned, the government has said that around 10,000 hospitals that are covered under the Ayushman Bharat Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, they will be used. These are the private hospitals as well as the other hospitals. As far as the CGHS facilities are concerned, there are 687 CGHS hospitals that will be used as COVID vaccination centers. Also, one very important point, what is going to be the role of the state? So the states will be, they have been given freedom to use the hospitals, the private hospitals that fall under the state government health insurance scheme. So the state governments can use them as COVID vaccination centers as well. And the most important point here, that is also that the states have been given freedom to use the public sector undertakings and the government health facilities as COVID vaccination centers. So a large scaling up of all of this operation is to be started from the 1st of March. So we can expect many more people to be vaccinated in the coming days.
And the developing political story of the day, the Congress is getting weak, and that is why we have gathered, said Congress leader Kapil Sibal as he shared the stage at a public event in Jammu with members of the G23. That is, senior party leaders who have questioned the Gandhi's leadership style. Meanwhile, from the other side of the divide, Congress leader Abhishek Manu Singhvi responded to the gathering by pointing out that with key elections round the corner, the dissenting leaders could have served the party better by working in poll-bound states. But he also offered an olive branch by saying that the party was nevertheless proud of them.
In an apparent show of strength and a reminder to the Congress leadership, 6 leaders who are part of what is informally called the G23, the dissidents in the Congress, and who had last year sent a letter to Congress President Sonia Gandhi seeking changes in the party, today shared the stage with Ghulam Nabi Azad in Jammu at an event organized by an NGO. Airing concerns about the functioning of the party were former Union Ministers Anand Sharma, Kapil Sibal, Lok Sabha MP Manish Tiwari, Rajya Sabha MP Vivek Tankha, former Haryana Chief Minister Bhupender Singh Hooda and Raj Babbar.
सच्चाई तो ये है कि कांग्रेस पार्टी हमें कमजोर होती दिख रही है और इसलिए हम यहाँ इकट्ठा हुए हैं और पहले भी इकट्ठा हुए थे हम इकट्ठा होकर इसको हमें मजबूत करना है।
पिछले एक दशक में कांग्रेस कमजोर हुई है और हमारी आवाज कांग्रेस की सेहत के लिए है, कांग्रेस को मजबूत करने के लिए है। एक बार दोबारा हर सूबे के अंदर कांग्रेस मजबूत हो, नई पीढ़ी के लोग जुड़े। हमने अच्छा वक्त देखा है कांग्रेस का। हम नहीं चाहते कि जैसे जैसे हम लोगों की उम्र बढ़ती है हम कांग्रेस को कमजोर देखें।
कांग्रेस के लोग मजबूती के साथ तैयार हैं। ये G23 कांग्रेस की मजबूती चाहती है।
Though the Congress party said the meeting in Jammu was an unofficial one and distanced itself from it, senior leader Abhishek Manu Singhvi, speaking from the party headquarters in Delhi on behalf of the party, said,
are senior, highly respected and well-regarded members of our party. And we are proud to have them in our party. The best contribution to the Congress cause would be to get active, not in any manner amongst ourselves, but to get active in the various abhiyans ongoing every day in the 5 states where the Congress is fighting elections.
The gathering at Jammu shows the rebellion in the grand old party is far from over, while leaders in Rahul Gandhi camp say the G23 has been reduced to G7 now, and even these differences will be sorted out in the coming days. This is Arvind Gunasekar for NDTV from New Delhi.
And a day after announced dates for the Bengal Assembly election to be spread over 8 phases starting the 27th of March, the Election Commission has replaced the top cop in charge of law and order in the state of West Bengal. On Friday, the poll body said elections in West Bengal would be spread over 8 phases, the longest ever poll process, seemingly over the concerns of violence voiced loudest by the opposition BJP. And now we're seeing the first change in IPS postings coming just a day after poll dates were declared. The additional law and order of the Bengal Police, Javed Shamim, has been shifted to the fire services. The DG of fire services, Jagmohan, has been appointed ADG law and order. And in Assam, the poll panel has stayed transfers. It's put on hold the transfer of 12 IPS and 6 APS officers. The Assam government had ordered the transfer of these officers on the 26th of February, but the poll body has put this transfer on hold, citing the model code of conduct being enforced. Remember, Assam will start voting from the 27th of March in 3 phases, the 27th, 6th, the 1st of April, and then the 6th of April. But staying with Assam, there's a big story coming in where there seems to be a big boost to the Congress-led Grand Alliance, where the BJP's ally in the Sonowal government, the BPF, has now joined the Grand Alliance. Let's go across to Ratnadi for more on this. Ratnadi, what is the significance of this story?
Well, the Bodoland's People Front, led by Hagrama Mohilari, is a party which dominates the political scenes in the Bodoland region. But in the last Bodoland Territorial Council elections in last December, they could not form the government despite emerging as the single largest party. But just before the elections, remember, BPF was an ally of the BJP and it had 3 ministers in the Sonowal government, but the BJP dumped them in the Bodoland elections. BJP went solo and later helped another Bodoland-based party, UPPL, to form the government with its support and support of other parties. Now, BPF has decided to join the Grand Alliance. But what is important is that BPF has been a partner of the Congress both in 2011 and in 2006 when Tarun Gogoi was the chief minister, and in 2016, just before the elections, the BPF had severed its ties with the Congress and joined the BJP. But for the last 3 consecutive elections, whichever side Hagrama Mohilari had been, that side has gone on to win the elections. Whether he remains the kingmaker or whether his good luck charm works for the Congress-led Grand Alliance is something that time will decide. But however, he, in his own turf, Bodoland, these days don't have the same political cloud that he had, because the BJP has also made inroads, but he still remains a very potent force in that area, and this is going to really boost the Congress-led alliance, where you also have Badruddin Ajmal-led AIUDF. Remember today, RJD President Tejasvi Yadav was here. He has decided to contest Assam election, although RJD doesn't have a base. But he is also going to, be probably part of this Grand Alliance and perhaps be a star campaigner for the Grand Alliance and also try to sway about 5%, Hindi-speaking votes which are there in Assam.
Deep Chaudhary reporting from Assam. Thank you for those details. Meanwhile, campaigning is underway. Congress leader Rahul Gandhi was in Tuticorin for a 3-day roadshow in South Tamil Nadu.
A nation is a balance between its institutions. If that balance is disturbed, the nation is disturbed. That is the central idea. What are the institutions that make up the Indian nation? There are elected institutions, Lok Sabha, Vidhan Sabhas, Panchayats. There is the judiciary. There is a supporting free press. These institutions together, they hold the nation in place. And what we have seen over the last 6 years is a systematic attack on all these institutions. Democracy does not die with a bang. It dies slowly. And I'm sad to tell you that democracy in India is dead. It doesn't exist anymore. It is dead because one organization, the RSS, has combined with huge finances to penetrate and disturb and destroy our institutional balance. That is what has happened. Narendra Modi is useful to two people. He's extremely useful. Because those two people are using the Prime Minister of India to increase their wealth dramatically. And believe me, when the time comes, they will throw him like that. He's useless to the poor people. He's very useful to hum do hamare do.
And let's go across to Kerala, where the assembly elections are scheduled to be held in a single phase on the 6th of April. And this election is all set to be a critical fight between the CPIM-led LDF and the Congress-UDF coalition, as the state often votes each coalition into power on an alternate basis. But this time, the BJP is hoping to cash in. But party cadres across the board, shifting loyalties, seems to be keeping the parties on their toes.
Whether it be the senior leaders of BJP, Congress or the CPM, they all have been alleging in Kerala that their rivals are in a secret alliance to defeat them. But on the ground, there's crossovers across the party lines by the sympathizers.
The paintings on the wall tell the story of changing party loyalties in Mullur area of Kovalam. Che Guevara has got overshadowed by a fresh painting of the lotus. The BJP says 98 former leaders, members, supporters of the CPM and some Congress sympathizers have joined the Saffron Party. So what was still recently, according to them, the CPM local branch committee office has got a makeover.
So many CPM cadres and the lady workers who are holding CPM membership, they joined in BJP. Entire CPM village is joining BJP. This is different matter. This is the same thing that that had happened in Tripura and West Bengal some years ago.
The CPM says the leaders who apparently switched loyalty had been ousted from the party earlier for anti-party activities. They claim, in fact, the wind is blowing the other way, with as many as 50 BJP and Congress supporters joining them in Pathanamthitta.
The claim that an entire party office has gone for BJP is totally baseless. People, important people belonging to various parties like BJP, as well as Congress, having left their parent parties and having joined CPIM or the LDF. This has happened in Kollam. In Pathanamthitta, BJP people have joined us.
A political flux not totally unexpected before elections. With camera person SP Babu, Sneha Koshri for NDTV.
The 23-year-old labour rights activist Nodeep Kaur, who was released from Karnal jail on Friday evening after the Punjab and Haryana High Court granted her bail, today joined the farmers' agitation at the Singhu border, demanding the release of her associates and the repeal of the farm laws.
Labour rights activist Nodeep Kaur back to protesting a day after she was released from Karnal jail, where she spent 45 days. This time, 23-year-old Nodeep Kaur is at Haryana-Delhi Singhu border, where farmers have been protesting against the farm laws for over 3 months. Farmers welcomed the 23-year-old activist, who said she would not give up the fight despite the police torture she says she was subjected to. Speaking to NDTV, Nodeep alleged that while in custody, Haryana police physically and sexually abused her.
इतना मारा गया, प्राइवेट पार्ट पे भी मारा गया, ऊपर बैठ के भी मारा गया, गंदी गालियां भी दी गई, औरत होने के नाते गालियां दी गई है और बहुत तो किया ही गया है और जेल में किसी को भी नहीं मिलने दिया गया.
On Friday, NDTV accessed the medical reports of Nodeep Kaur's friend Shiv Kumar, who is still in jail. The report was submitted to Haryana and Punjab High Court by the Haryana police, and it revealed multiple injuries and fractures on Shiv Kumar's arms and legs.
उसको बुरे तरीके से मारा गया, उसकी हड्डियां टूट गई, उसके नेल भी निकाल दिए गए हैं और इतना मारा गया, जब तक उसको रिहाई नहीं होती हम लोग उसके भी मांग उठाते रहेंगे.
While the case of Nodeep Kaur was highlighted by the national and international media, many of her associates who were arrested along with her on 12th of January are still in jail. While Nodeep Kaur has been released from jail, she claims that a fight will continue till the time the farm laws are not repealed and her associates who are still in jail are not released. She also claims that her associates have also been beaten up and misbehaved by the police in the custody. With correspondent Saurabh Shukla and camera person Gauri Prasad, I'm Akshay Dongre for NDTV.
And we're going to go in for a short break, and fuel prices continue to get higher and higher. Back now, fuel prices have hit a record high in Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, and after a 3-day pause, petrol rates were hiked by over 20 paise, diesel rates by around 15 paise across metros. It feels like it's been weeks that every day we report there's been a price hike. But what does this mean overall? Well, we stepped back and took a look at the big picture for you. The big picture for the month is that fuel rates have surged by at least 4 rupees a litre in key cities.
Your fuel bill in February got costlier by at least 4 rupees a litre. That's right, 4 rupees. Fuel rates across metros have increased by at least 4 rupees a litre. Diesel rates in Mumbai have shot up by over 5 rupees a litre for the month. And the hike in diesel rates has been steeper than petrol across the board this month. Currently, Mumbai has the highest fuel rates among the metros. Remember, petrol prices are above 90 rupees a litre and diesel rates are above 80 rupees a litre. This despite 5 states having cut taxes on fuel: West Bengal, Assam, Nagaland, Meghalaya and Rajasthan earlier. Not to forget the price of premium petrol, which is optional and that has surpassed the 100 rupees a litre mark in Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan. Householders say they are unable to balance budgets.
आम जनता पे बहुत ज़्यादा बोझ है और इसमें this is going to increase everything.
हमारे खर्चों में इतना मुश्किल हो गया है कि हम मतलब दुखी हो गए हैं, क्योंकि आज तक इस स्थिति में अभी तक तो इतना पेट्रोल कभी गया नहीं था. हमने तो 3 रुपये 20 पैसे से शुरू किया था और आज 91 रुपये. जी कोई तो बहुत ज़्यादा मतलब कहते हैं महंगाई की मार वाली कोई सुनने वाला नहीं.
After protests by the opposition, the RBI has also urged the centre and states to slash indirect taxes on petrol and diesel. Will March indicate better days for fuel rates and give the common man the much needed relief? That really is the key concern now. With Akshay Dongre, Sakshi Bajaj for NDTV.
And in Rajasthan, there's additional heartburn over LPG prices. 3 times in 1 month alone, LPG prices have been hiked. And the worst hit are the middle class, especially since the subsidy on gas cylinders is also not making its way back into bank accounts due to increased government expenditure on COVID management. Harsha Kumari Singh reports.
Bhuri Devi lights up the wooden stove outside her home more often these days. Gas cylinder prices have been increasing for the past 2.5 months. In her family, with 3 young boys to feed, rotis are much in demand. Bhuri says it's unaffordable. She can't light up the gas stove. Better to manage with wooden sticks collected from neighboring gardens.
चूल्हा पे रोटी बनाऊं, कभी सब्जी, कभी यहाँ पे नहीं सिलेंडर न छाले 1000 के 900 को लमसम सिलेंडर हो गया. अब 20-25 रोटी तो 5 परिवार साथ में तो रोटी सब्जी तो बनाना ही पड़ता है, पेट थोड़ी रहे.
The family moved to the city some months ago. Their subsidized gas connection has been allotted to them in their village, and here they often buy cylinders in the black market. In 1 month alone, cylinder prices have gone up by 100 rupees, and since December the increase has been by 200 rupees. On the 2nd of December, LPG cylinders cost 648 rupees after a 50 rupee hike. On the 15th of December, another 50 rupee hike, it was at 698. Then in January, there was no increase in rates. And in February, it's been hiked 3 times. On the 4th of February by 25 rupees, costing 723 rupees per cylinder. On the 14th of Feb by 50 rupees, with the cylinder at 773 rupees. And then on the 25th of Feb, another 25 rupees, and it's at 798 per cylinder. Sita Kumari has a family of 8 to feed. She requires 3 cylinders every month and says a hike of 300 rupees is just unaffordable for her.
मेरे घर में 8 परिवार है, 3 सिलेंडर खत्म होता है महीने में. अब महीने के इतने पैसे बढ़ गए तो हम गरीब आदमी कहाँ से करेंगे.
और जैसे तुम्हारा आदमी टैक्सी बिजनेस में है, तो टैक्सी का भी इस बार पेट्रोल का दाम
पेट्रोल बढ़ गया, तनख्वाह भी सब कट गई, और हम अब कैसे चलाएंगे घर.
Commercial LPG cylinders are also costing more, from 1300 rupees to over 1600 now. And for small-time traders like this tea seller, the profit margins are just not adding up.
हमारे 14-15 हज़ार रुपए मिल जाते थे, खाना खर्चा रोजी रोटी चलती थी, और अभी कुछ नहीं चल रहा. अभी सिलेंडर की रेट पहले 1350 थी, अभी प्रेजेंट में 1650 रुपए है. कम से कम महीने के 4000 रुपए कम से कम फर्क पड़ा है.
Before the COVID pandemic took its toll on the economy, subsidies on gas cylinders were credited back into beneficiaries' accounts. But for now, subsidy on gas cylinders are on hold, and it's a double whammy, especially for the middle-class consumer. In Jaipur, Harsha Kumari Singh, NDTV.
That's the news at this hour.